episode. Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited. This is week 4 of the book club. You can do hard things. And this week we're going to go through 2 chapters. Yeah, last week I was going to go through 2, but courage is a big chapter. I just want to check in with everybody and see how we're doing. Are people still doing their affirmations? Raise hands. Anybody? Yes? Yes? David's not raising his hand. Brian, I know that you are new to the book club, but not new to me or the book. So if you can turn on your camera, that would be great. I know Andrea is driving and Lorraine just dropped off. Okay. So affirmations are super important. So we have to keep doing them in order for them to be effective. Osbert, how is your new one going?
Great. It's just it's funny because like obviously I know what our topic is today, but it's in my morning routine, so it's it's a part of everything there, and it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
A lot of positive changes, and it's just sometimes just repracticing those basics again, kind of getting back on the horse and kind of running through it. So it feels good to have my routine kind of like I'm always refining it and making it more efficient. So I'm glad to definitely have that going.
That's good. And that's a really good point because I was even doing that this week, with the exercising. It's part of my morning routine, right? And sometimes I don't get to it. But once you start getting back on track, man, you feel a mindset shift. You feel an overall energy shift. You're getting back into the things you're doing. Then you're counting your wins and you're like, yes, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it turns out to be this really good, positive forward motion, right? That's where we're getting to in the book. So it's really, really important. Thank you for sharing, Osbert. Hey, Ben, how many times did you say I did last week?
Do you say my name?
I did a lot.
Ben.
Oh, Ben. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. You missed it last week, but we were doing courage. And one of the things was, I know I should be doing it. I know. And we changed that to I did.
Actually, you know what? I did catch myself a few times throughout the week saying I know, and it's more of a snarky response more than anything else, because it's just that sometimes it's just a habit to throw that out there, and I'm trying to be more aware of saying I did versus I know, and it's a work in progress. I'm okay with that. It helps me to keep myself learning that I made a mistake, I got to start all over again, versus you know what, I skipped, I just need to keep going forward. So
there you go. And that mindset of mistake, it's not necessarily a mistake. It's a reminder. It's a constant reminding process. The whole growth process is reminders. You have to do it constantly. Sometimes we get, a full plate and we forget. We just get into that cycle of doing life instead of being proactive, right? And the whole process of the book is to learn to be proactive. And so when you say I did versus I know, right, is the reaction, but the I did is being proactive. So it's a really good mindset shift. And it took me a little bit to fully understand, even after our book club, because it's really, really important. And it's honestly really good research for me, and case in point, because everybody does it. It's not just you, Ben. I do it. I'm sure Julie does it. I'm sure Brian does it. Andrea does it. Everybody does it. Ali Beth does it. Willingly, she raised her hand. And that's just, yeah. And that's just nature of the beast.
I did. It's different. It does make a mindset switch. Like, I did accomplish that. Now I know right. I didn't,
Right? So really, even if you just, I have, my wall here's got all my things. And did you write it and did you put it up? I did.
Oh, me?
Yes, Ben.
You know, I actually wrote it down in my journal, and I try to keep reminding myself to write it every morning so that I can see that. And then it kind of helps start the day, you know, kind of tune the instrument before the concert kind of a thing. So
And you know, it's kind of the same thing as water. Does anybody notice if you don't start drinking water in the morning, you won't go until like noon, and then you'll be like, oh man, I didn't drink any water. But if you start drinking water in the beginning of the day, then you're more thirsty and you want water continuously throughout the day. But you see what I'm saying? It's a difference in your habits, and then your body's thirsty for it. It's the same thing with growth. The more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you want to do it, the more you want to put it in your routine. And then the more you put it in your routine, the more momentum you gain, right? It's a vicious cycle, but it's a great cycle. And it's the cycle that I want to continue to learn and grow from. And it's the cycle that will get you to that next place, right? Instead of doing that hamster wheel, which we all talk about. We keep going in a circle and a circle and a circle. I guess the circle goes this way, actually, not this way, but anyway. So this week is chapter 4. And most of us on this call know about morning routines, right? Who has one? Okay, now who does them? How about 50% of the time? How about 80% of the time? I'd say I'm about a good 80. Does anybody do it 100% of the time?
Yes.
Who said yes? Cheryl?
Yeah,
It's
I do.
you.
I have to. I don't have a
That's-
choice.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Ben, do you do it 100% of the time, your morning
Yes.
routine?
yes, ma'am. Every morning I have a routine.
That is fantastic. Osbert, you do it 100% of the time? Vacation, everything.
Oh yeah, like at least for the last since January 1st, it's been like this new year, new me type of thing. So I haven't missed. So it's been a pretty cool thing.
That is fabulous. Seriously, that's a big kudos. 100% of the time is freaking rock star status. I mean, seriously, because the goal of the morning routine is what? One of you guys who does it 100% of the time, tell me.
Well, for me, it's predictability. It's controlling the controllable. And so like morning meditation, affirmations, I say prayer, I do cold showers. I call them my 10 core disciplines in the morning. And so I just basically knock those things out. I might have shared this with the 10X planners that we had before. I used to have like a checklist where it was like 1 to 5, 1 to 5. And then I'd try to get as many X's to 10X my day. But yeah, that's like a little like these little like I don't call them tricks, but tactics that like kind of just make sure. And since I'm back in like a competitive sales standpoint where it's, everything's remote, I don't have an office anymore. I've kind of just like literally purged everything out. It's like the way that I have to show up for like anyone that's coming on, because I don't know if they're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur, and I don't know if they're just starting. So it's like I just got to make sure that I show up at the same way for everybody. So I've noticed that that's really just helped on how I'm showing up, and it bleeds into every other part of my life. I'm down 38 pounds since January 1st. And so I'm like super excited, and income's going up. I'm on track to make what I was making before, tracking like hopefully closer to 3 this year, if possible.
Yeah.
So, like, we'll see where that is, and then see how everything
is possible.
Oh, 100. Yes, absolutely. But you've seen my journey where I was trying to get back to the 240, 250, and then last year I barely didn't even break anything. Like I didn't even get close to that. And then now I'm on the trajectory. Now that I've had the opportunities, I'm going to my first mastermind of the year next month. Yay. And so it's going to be in San Diego with a lot of people that have been kind of like in the mix with, and kind of getting active again. So it's kind of cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm really proud of you. And a lot of the words that you used, getting yourself motivated, right? Self-motivated. You don't have an office to go to. You don't have the high fives going around, for the sales. So those little check marks actually are very useful, right? Because in your mind, you're accomplishing those things, but you're acknowledging the accomplishments rather than just going through the day. You're really doing everything you would or everything that you can, right? to help keep yourself motivated. And that's huge. And that's part of a morning routine, right? To set your day, to get in front of it. Look at Allie Beth. Ben, do you have anything to add for your morning routine since you do it every day? Which is great. I love it. I love it.
You
I would
know,
like to know, what is it? What is your morning routine? Maybe I could take some to add to my morning routine. Maybe there's some things I need to be doing.
well, my for me, I don't know about Osbert, but for me, the first thing I normally do in the morning is obviously I hydrate a little bit, be it water or coffee. More often it's water, but I do get the coffee right after that. So definitely keep that going. And then what I'll do is I have a few check-ins that I like to do with myself. I have a couple of I have some video training that I do in the morning. That's usually about a 10-minute thing. Then I'll journal, I'll meditate, and then currently working on getting my real estate license. So I do a little bit of time on that. And then it's just, you know, by the time I'm done with the majority of that, it's go time for me to get ready and head on out and start my day. So and then I keep that going. And then if I keep those checkpoints every morning, it works for me to set myself up for success. When I miss one of those, I feel it, and the rest of the day I feel like I'm one step behind everybody dancing. So it's definitely noticeable for me.
Thank you. Allie Beth, what do you currently do?
Well, I don't follow it 100%. I'm gonna be honest,
Mhm.
but I do my bed. That's my first thing I do. Not today. That's what I said. Not every time. I did it today. Not today, but I do make my bed, brush my teeth, turn on the TV, and I started lately to listening to some affirmations in the morning. And then outside of that, then I try to get ready for the gym. Not every morning. I think about, depending on the weather, I think about if I'm going to the gym or not, or what am I doing. But go to the gym, and then from the gym, go to work. I work at 8 a.m. So I got to get ready. I don't have cars, so I got to get ready by, if I want to leave in the bus on time, I need to be ready before 7:30. So I try to finish my workout before 7 a.m. in the morning, so I could shower and get ready and go to work. One thing I started to do that has been very beneficial is to take everything I'm going to eat throughout the day with me to go outside of my house. If I'm going to eat breakfast, if I'm going to eat lunch, if I'm going to eat like my snack, everything I'm going to take, I take it with me to work. That's the place I commute the most. And then in the evening, let's say if I miss my workout in the morning, then in the evening, right away after work, I go to the gym. And on Tuesdays, I have one extra thing I add to my routine. It's not in the morning, but I do in the evening yoga. That's like my day to do yoga.
How often do you think you hit your routine? 3 days a week,
How
5 days a
often?
week?
5 days, mostly. Mostly the days that I go to the office, I do them. Maybe the days I don't go to the office. So in between 5 days to 4 days, I hit them. 5 to 4 days.
Are you happy with that?
No, honestly, I want to get 100% because it's just, I think it's very stimulating when you do it every day. Every day, it's just like you go on it. Like I could see the power of doing it.
How often do you say your affirmations?
Not all the time, honestly. The affirmation, not all the time.
So just as accumulation for everything, right? The book starts you off with what do you want, right? So if you take the process all the way through the book, you'll get to that point where you're building your consistency, which builds your discipline, which leads to your momentum, which will keep it going for you, right? So what would it change? Excuse me. How could you change in order to hit your routine? Let's say 6 days a week, 1 day off. Let's say 6 days a week to start to gain your momentum. Even if you started with 5, you've got to start somewhere. Sometimes we all want to do it 100% of the time. We don't hit our goal. So what happens? We fall off, right? We don't get to that point where we do it. So it's always a gradual progression. We put too much pressure on ourselves. That's what the morning routine is for. You build it you customize it to yourself. So what if you had an affirmation that helped you first thing in the morning to do your morning routine, just to get you in the mindset, not I try, not if, what if it, I am, right? And you say that first thing in the morning to get you out of bed, to make your bed, to go to the gym, to do your meals, and actually start your day the way you want to, right?
What can I, like, how would I make this affirmation? Like, I don't know where to focus it. I am, because sometimes I have done the one of I am consistent of all my goals, and that doesn't work for me. That one is not my one. That one is a lie. You know,
Okay,
I
so
can't.
but remember what an affirmation is, right? An affirmation is rewiring the subconscious, because you're taking the old pattern. It will always be there. But in order for you to win your brain, right, to conquer it, you've got to use that Post-it note. If you don't say the affirmation, you're not going to rewire it. It's always going to come back. It's always going to come back. So write down those couple things that you want to do for the morning. That's what the exercise is in chapter 4 for your morning routine. And remember, you know, you ask what Ben does. You know, Osbert told us a few things that he does. I told you a few things that I do. In the book, I say it's mind, heart, body, and spirit. Those are the things in the morning that help me activate so that I can get in front of the day. So body, you like to move, so you want to go to the gym. Mind, I would not suggest turning on the TV. Turn on a podcast. If you have a loop of positive affirmations, you can use YouTube. Try something in there. Find one you like. You know, when you just said it doesn't work for me, find something that works for you. A lot of people will take somebody else's and it's not working. Well, the whole point of the affirmation, the morning routine, it's always for you. I'm going to use Osbert as case in point, because I have seen the changes, and it's an amazing process when we embrace it. The I knows and the I tries don't really work. They're just a mask for us to stay comfortable. And I know that that's hard to hear sometimes, but it's the truth. And so in order for us to hit the growth, to hit that next level, we've got to get those out of our brain. So you've got to start to rewire it. And, you know, like Mel Robbins says, nobody's coming for you. Nobody's going to get you out of bed in the morning. Nobody's going to save you. You have to get up and do it. And inside, this is the part where there a little bit of work needs to be done. If you keep falling off, if you keep going back into the I tries and I knows, and your morning routine is less than 50%, you've got to figure out what that thing is inside of you that is telling you it's okay. Because there's a safety net in there that's telling you, oh, it's okay. I'll just start over. I'm just going to use this as an example, and I hope this is okay. Allie Beth, how many times have you completed 75 hard?
I never completed it.
I love
Never
you.
did.
So we had talked one time, and I've never done it either. I've never committed to it because it's hard. So why don't you start, and we've talked about this before, why don't you start with something smaller? Start with an Allie Beth. I did a Sins Twisted 21. It will change your mindset. It will give you the win. It will tell you that, yes, you can complete it. So don't try to do something that somebody else is doing. That's one of the biggest points in chapter 4. There you go. Osbert said, I feel a 75 hard accountability group coming. So, and here's the thing. Why don't we start with a 30-day? Why don't we start with a 30-day? Right? We could do a book club 30, right? I mean, and this is the point. We try to do what everybody else is doing. We want to do what everybody else is doing. We want to get the results that somebody else is getting, but we don't want to do the work. And that's part of our mindset of holding ourselves back. It's our comfortability. It's ours. We have to get out of our own way. So how do we do that? You have to look inside yourself and see, what can I do? Sometimes you have to start small. In order for you to rewire your brain, in order for you to have the wins, Osbert uses the checks. It's awesome. Doug Volsky talks about the check marks, checking shit off, check it off, check it off. I love checking stuff off. I use it. I use the targets part of my book, and I have 4 out of 6 right here on my check marks. And so it's one of those things where, so now today I look back, and so for my targets, the thing that I didn't finish, if I didn't finish something, it goes at the top of the list. So again, I want us to remember, right? I feel like push-ups should be part of it. I do too, Ben, in our challenge. So let's create a challenge. We could do it so that we all pick something that's a struggle for us, right? And we'll put it in the challenge so that we can all help that one person be accountable. There'll be things that we all do, like our affirmations should be number 1. Honestly, your affirmations should be number 1 in helping you set your mindset to getting you to that place where you say, I am. Not I try, not I will, not I know, just an I did or I am. And it will totally change your mindset. So I don't want to get too far off course here because we have to do 2 chapters. So why don't you guys write a couple things down that you want to have in your morning routine that you're struggling with? Like if you have a morning routine and you're like, man, I just can't flip and get that one in there. Or if there's something that maybe you want to incorporate into your morning routine and you just don't know how, or it hasn't been something that you've accomplished, right? I would really like to get back to the gym. I don't necessarily want to pay for it at this particular junction in my life, but it would be very good accountability for me if I did. So I'm going to think about that one. I've been doing them at home. Time-wise, it's sometimes a constraint for me. So last time in our in chapter 3, we talked about courage. For me, I'll just share with you, this is that thing where you have to cut something off. So I have to sacrifice something in order for me to get that goal, to go back to the gym, to get in shape that I want to be. Then I have to sacrifice something. It's either the money or the time, right? Because I'm the one who's got to get up and I'm the one who's got to pay the bill. So it's a sacrifice for me. So then I have to dig deep and say, what's going to make me do that, right? What's going to make me pay that bill? Or what's going to make me get up every morning? Well, in all honesty, I could say, if I pay that bill, it's $200 a month. That's a lot of money for the gym. It's F45. I love F45, right? And I'm like, it's a lot of money for the gym, but it will make me go, right? Because I'm not going to waste it. I don't want to waste $200 a month, right? So I've got to go. So I think I just talked myself into it. Thanks.
Hey, it's
and you all
needed
can hold me
sometimes.
accountable. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's needed sometimes, that part
Yeah.
of talk to yourself to into, because that's why you will continue going, because it's actually very expensive to go.
It is expensive. It's expensive. And so that's my point. Like sometimes we keep it inside, and our group right now is part of how we get to that next step. Talking through it, right? You have to come to the realization. And sometimes being in your own head, you just don't. You listen to yourself rather than talk to yourself, right? The whole affirmation process is talking to yourself, not listening, right? I don't want to make my bed. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that, blah, 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 blah. So the affirmation process helps you get out of that. In the morning routine chapter, and I'm sorry, Ben, did you want to say something? I'm sorry. I got to my thought process and I was rambling for a second. Got on my soapbox. Just pop back on if you want to say something. So morning routine, really, really think about what you want to accomplish in your morning routine. Mindset is key. The morning routine really sets your mind up to be proactive. It gets you in front of your day. It tells you what you want to do and not be reactive to what's happening throughout the day, right? You don't want to listen to the news, the kids, the office. You want to set yourself up, feed it positivity. So I do the movement in the morning as much as possible. So that's my body. My mind, I've changed it up a little bit. So I used to do podcasts in the morning because that feeds my mind. I do something, and I shared it honestly with Osbert and Ben. I do an app called Growth Day. It's Brendan Burchard, and the man is brilliant.
What
And
is it
most
called?
of it's called Growth Day. And I can send you the link. It is a fee. There is a fee. It's fee-based, but it's a constant coaching. If you guys don't know Brendan Burchard, the man is amazing. I hope to be like him one day. Part of his process, and this is honestly where I came up with my Sunday R&R, reflection is huge. And it's the biggest thing I've learned during the growth process. But the reminders are key. The growth process for you to keep growing is constant reminders. If you think you're done, you're never done. You will always keep growing. Osbert, you said earlier today, you said, new year, new me. Technically, it's not a new you. You'll always be with you, but it's the growth process of being the next version of you, evolving to that next level of you, which is what I really, really like. I like it when we don't stay the same. I like it when we grow into that person that we want to be, right? Because so many times in life, we're thinking about who we want to be. The growth process is actually becoming, it's doing the things that you want to do in order to get to who you want to be. And the app is really, really cool because he does what does he call it? A daily fire. He calls it a daily fire. So every single day he talks about something new. Like I do my walk talks, he does a 10 or 15 minute, I don't do 10 or 15 minutes. I do 1 or 2 minutes, but he does 10 or 15 minutes every day on a different topic, and he'll repeat his topics. And it's just part of the growth process. He'll say he's done it before, but he actually gets on live. So it's a really good daily practice. So that's what I use 95% of the time in the morning. I resonate with him. If you don't, find somebody you do. There's so many people on YouTube. It's all free. You don't have to pay for anything. Pick somebody you like. If you don't know of somebody, throw it out there in the group and say, who do you listen to? We've all got somebody. We've all got somebody. So mind, heart. So I have a gratitude journal. I use just a wire bound. I put stickers on it. I put stickers on it, but it's just a ruled 50-cent little wire bound book. And I fill it up. I always start it the same way. And it doesn't have to be all of it. You can do just a couple. You can do 4 or 5 lines, but I always start it. Gratitude is the pure joy of acknowledging what's in my heart. And so when I do that, I think about all the positive things in my life, all of the good things in my life, all of the things I want to continue in my life, right? Those things that really, truly bring me joy. I say in the book, and you boys probably already know, and Allie Beth, the podcast episode on As the Leader Grows with Bradley, he said, and this is what got me thinking about it, if you woke up in the morning with only the things that you thanked God for, what would you wake up with? So that's how I base my gratitude, because it's the little things. It's the love of my children. I use one, and I say this honestly every day. I'm grateful for my sight to see the colors of the world and to watch my children grow up to be amazing humans. I put moms sometimes I say humans. I want to live long enough to see my grandkids. I want to see all the colors of the world and travel. And it's something that is near and dear to my heart. It's something that I want to do forever. So that's something that I use. And when I say it and I root myself in it, then it brings me joy and I can feel it in my heart. I use gratitude several times. Grant Cardone says to write your goals down twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. And a third time, if you ever have a setback, if you ever don't attain a goal, he says to write down your goals, to revisit. So you're setting your mind for what you do want. So for me, I use gratitude sometimes. If I'm at a spot where I'm struggling, I'm hurting, or there's something that didn't go right, I like to use gratitude. I need to recenter. I need to recenter myself. The other thing I do is when I do write my goals, when I write my goals in the morning, I like this. This is from Doug Volsky. Romance the dream. Really visualize it. See where you're going. See what your goals are. Take the 10 minutes. Really sit there and start to visualize it and feel it. Feel what it feels like to make your 6 figures. Feel what it feels like to have your morning routine done and live vigorously and joyfully, because not every day is perfect, but if you carry those feelings around with you, it changes your mindset, because the negativity we know comes from everywhere. It comes from the news, comes from your job, comes from your family. And so when you carry those things with you, then it's not as easy to get swamped up in those negative things. So those are mind, heart, body, spirit. The spirit, I think, is different for different people. You can use scripture in the morning for spirit. You can use meditation. You can use prayer. All of those things to get connected with the higher being, whomever you use, whomever, even if it's your UPS man, universal power source is who Dr. Marissa used to use on the show that I did. And it could be anything. It could be anybody. It could be simply the universe, universal power source. So whatever you use, I still have not mastered meditation. So my mind, for whatever reason, cannot be clear. I haven't gone to the steps of actually going to YouTube, because I know they do have some free things. Who uses meditation? That's awesome. So
I use meditation, but like yoga. I don't use like that part of like calming my mind. I don't think that's like what works for me.
yeah,
But
and
I the yoga thing, I do vinyasa yoga, and that helps for, like, let's say how you just said that your mind cannot fully like quiet.
yeah,
That does help me a lot to put it in like maybe like in a quiet thing that I'm thinking sometimes when I'm in the yoga, because it's challenging. So it brings you thoughts, but
right.
it helps to detox it, I would say. So
And
vinyasa yoga is good.
Okay, maybe you can share a link in the group. I think it's
Yes.
good. So whatever we're doing in book club, I think, especially for this one, for morning routine, if you do you use an app, or what do you guys use? Just curious. Do you
Honestly,
just sit?
my yoga mentor always say, don't use no YouTube yoga. Don't use no YouTube stuff. So I don't use a YouTube. I actually go to a class in person. I
Oh,
have a
okay.
teacher and I go to her class on like Tuesdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boys,
So
what do you use?
I have an audio syn. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I have an
Yeah.
audio that when I started, I had a mentor last year. And this was after working with Joe, doing the stuff with Ken and everything. And then he has like a morning routine that you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where you kind of touched on, like, meditation. I didn't feel was for me because my mind's going a million miles a minute. But once I started realizing that, like, as a way to kind of calm things, it's once I started doing it after about 21 days or so, 21 days to make a habit and that whole thing, it started to be a part of my routine. And so there's different types too. So there's like, ones when you're feeling down, different things that just get you like right in the right mindset. So that's that aspect of, you can just imagine like how we do affirmations. What if you recorded your own affirmations and that was a form of your meditation with your eyes closed?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's like something that like a lot of like high level people, it's something that we actually teach within the program that I'm actually selling for right now. But I do a lot of things. If this helps anybody, my morning starts the night before. So I do a pretty deep thing. If this helps anyone, I do fear journaling. And so like the fear journal for me as a part of my nightly routine to set up the morning is that I literally go like as deep as possible. What would happen if I lost everything? What if my parents passed away? What if, everything with my, just like, and I get real dark and like, I say the things that really scare me. But the difference is once you articulate it out loud, it's like you're releasing that pressure, that internal pressure. And then right after I jump right into gratitude. And so like, that's one of those things. And that's kind of helped me to where I'm in bed every night, Sin. Like, I'm like, feel like I'm getting like, I'm like my parents now. I'm in bed by like 9 o'clock. And so, and that's because I wake up at 4:30 every day. And so now that I've had that discipline to do that, and then I'm literally 4:30 to about 7 morning routine. And then I have like an hour block where I might take a call. If it's not there, then I'm doing movement, but then I get to unplug, be dad. I take my kids to school, walk them in. They go to private school. We say the pledge, the whole thing. I walk them in and do that whole thing. And then I get to, jump into my day. But those little things, I've noticed that it's kept me grounded. And that's the main reason more than anything, because you said it perfectly, Sin. It's like, I'm no longer being like, I'm being proactive, not reactive. And so that's that thing that's really I've jumped in front of, and it's helped a lot of my relationships, I got to say. And so
It's awesome. It's awesome. And I appreciate all of the levels that we're at. So thank you for sharing, because anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. If you think you can't do it, I'm here to tell you, yes, you can. Absolutely, you can do it. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You can get to the level you want to be at, right? It's all part of the process. You just have to set the consistencies which build your discipline. And then, like Osbert said, then you're proactive. It's all a process, but you have to keep moving. You have to keep going through the process. So I really like that. And thank you for sharing. And Ben, how do you do yours? I like the idea of the affirmations in your own voice in the loop. I like that.
I actually have a somebody that the few of us know, are mutual friends with. She got me started in a program that they have a meditation section in there that they have a few different I don't know, times on them that you can actually do. My personal favorite is there's one that runs about 4 to 10 minutes, and I'm really good right about there. And it does help me get myself relatively focused for the day and keep my mind grounded, because if I don't, then my monkey mind will just, I'm everywhere. I'm all over the place. It'll be horrible. And it helps me. And in fact, there was probably a long 3 or maybe 4 months that I wasn't doing any of it. And I was just getting up every morning and just going through the routine of, sit down, do my journal. And I wasn't really doing my journal. I was just kind of doing it. I wasn't being it, and which is kind of a big thing. And for me, it was. I mean, I can't speak on everybody else, but for me, it was. And then I started doing because they had a 21-day meditation challenge, and I finished the 21-day, and I went, my world is a lot better. Even in 21 days, I've noticed that there's a bigger difference in my world. And even now, I find myself being able to get back on track, and the things that used to just grind my gears like a bad clutch on a car was absolutely just being meditative on my day, and being aware that, hey, you know what, I don't have to live and exist in that kind of a world. I can exist in my world. So, and I attribute a lot of it to the meditations. And then of course, when I add the other part of it, that physical component of working out, that also helps too, because then all the good endorphins are released, not the bad ones.
It's so good. It's so good. And thank you for sharing. So let's, if you have a recording or something that you can share in the group, that would be awesome. And I'll put some challenges together. Meditation, I think, is a big one for a lot of people when we don't know how to do it. So I think that would really be great. Everybody knows you have the voice notes app on your phone, right? You can use that to record yourself and then listen to it for your affirmations. Okay, so does anybody have any other last thoughts on morning routine? Because we're going to jump to the next chapter. Is there anything that you're not doing that you want to do? Is there anything that you have questions on? Motivation Manifesto, along with You Can Do Hard Things, are always with me. Oh, I love that. Oh, she'd love some podcast recommendations, Andrea. So I think that's another thing.
for my morning routine, I was gonna ask you guys, I have a question, like, when you guys were transforming to be more consistent on like either educating the mind, to the point about educating the mind. Now that you mentioned the podcast, that made me brought up the question of like, okay, let's say I could see maybe I'm not as dedicated to reading in the morning, even though I am getting better. I'm still not as dedicated. So if I was to do something for the mind, and you guys were before being where you are right now, let's say before you didn't like reading, what was your best way to get into reading? Like podcasts? Because it sounds to me like maybe podcast would be like the best one to go first, because it's just directed to where it is supposed to be going, what it is, and you're out. Or it was it listening to books, or just listening to things like it were quick, or actually reading for a period of time. Like, I don't know, because I'm like trying to think like, okay, which one should I add to my morning that's really gonna help me build my mind, and that, it's not gonna be an excuse or whatever, because sometimes when I just set up for reading, I feel like reading, it will delay me instead. So I don't know, just some tips or suggestions, or if you had to overcome the same thing I'm going through right now, what you did?
So you want the knowledge, but you don't want to spend the time like sitting and reading. Is that what I'm hearing? I'm just asking. That's what I'm hearing. Sometimes for me, it's the same.
Yeah, I don't want to say that I don't want to spend the time, because I intentionally do want to, but
Right.
It seems like there's a blockage. Like I procrastinate on it. I would do it, but not enough time, or I would do it very quick. I feel like I would not understand,
You know what I did, and I'll just share with you really quick. I used the timer. So I put it on a timer so I know I'm not wasting my time. Like I'm very direct. I'm very focused, right? I'm making sure that I only do 10 minutes, because I was having the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to read, but I wasn't reading. So anyway, I just put the timer on for 10 minutes, and that helped me. Now, the other thing is, do you do audio or do you do physical?
So right now, I feel like I'm not doing none, because I intervate so much that it feels like none. So I'm trying to see like, what should I incorporate better? Because I think like reading, maybe I could put a timer for reading and then just listen to a podcast. That maybe will help me. But I know like, another way, if you don't read, then podcasts or audiobooks are very great. But let's say when I have to spend many hours on an audiobook, I just don't want to then. I just stop. Like I can't.
I was going to say, are you looking for motivation or knowledge?
I guess all of the above. Both.
I'd start with motivation. Go ahead, Osbert.
Motivation.
Yes. Ali Beth, maybe this will help, because I think, do you like Anthony Trucks?
Yeah, I do like him. He's cool.
Okay. So the reason why I say that is because he has his Shift Starter podcast. It's like a Shift Daily, 7 minutes long every morning. And he's been doing it. He hasn't missed a day. And it's one of those things that it kind of helps, because
I love him, the voice of him.
Oh yeah, he has a different topic every day, and he's really good as far as getting back to people. And so like I'll be like, hey man, loved what you did today, and he'll actually reply back and like say, oh, thanks for the love, brother, hope everything's well. So we built a relationship over the last 2 or 3 years. But the reason why I share that is because he actually recommended, maybe this will work for you, when you have a book that you've been wanting to read, possibly listening to the Audible version of it as well while you're reading it. And so it's like you get to read it and listen to it at the same time. So that way you start to retain the information. And he talks about, even if it's just 5 minutes, then 6 minutes the next day, even if it's 10 minutes, because everyone overestimates what they can do, because they're like, I want to do this, I want to do that. When all we got to do is start winning the days, to start winning the weeks, to start, winning the months. And the next thing you know, you had the best year of your life. So, kind of like you're familiar with the incremental, not monumental. So like, those little things, those small daily disciplines, I just feel like that just adds up to, monumental results in essence.
It does. It really does.
That's a good one. And he is actually very good. Now that you mentioned specifically Anthony Trucks, he is very good.
He's very good. So if anybody needs something and it's free, Anthony Trucks.
What was the name of that? Of his podcast? I love him.
It's a Shift Starter Daily.
Shift Starter Daily.
Yeah, and what I'll do is, because he's in Walnut Creek, that's the cool thing. So like it's
Yeah.
Like he has a community aspect. I can actually drop it in and then
Drop it in.
and obviously he knows
too.
Sin,
I
he
love
knows me,
him.
so like
Yeah.
pretty cool guy.
He's got the energy and he's real. And he's super smart. Have you read his book? I have not. I'm just asking.
No,
Anthony's book?
I have not. I have not, but I do have
that
actually in the past listened to him.
Osbert, have you read his book?
Yes, ma'am. I one of my hacks at the events is, I like to bring the books and get them signed.
Ah,
So what it was like, and he actually he gave me access to his paid app and everything. And that was
oh,
the stuff where a lot of that deep work that I was talking about, like since we're all sharing like some mindset stuff, guys,
Mhm.
he talks about self-esteem. It's like you
mhm.
get all this information, but none of us implement anything. And next thing you know, we're a year later, and it's the exact same thing. We're in the same position. We're like wondering and hoping when all we had to do was start doing those little things on a daily basis. And that spoke to me because I woke up and my son, who was born, he's 6 now, but I feel like it was yesterday, like he was just born. And so like it really starts to have me appreciate time. And so that's why I wake up with with a purpose now. So if that helps anybody, I'm pretty sure that'll kind of guide you in that right direction. Just getting started. And
I'm so
communities
proud of
like
you.
this- Oh yeah, thanks. Communities like this though, it's like the ultimate life hack is is that proximity. Like if you guys really like, obviously I love what Sin's doing, and that's why like literally anything she does, I'll show up for. And that's
Thank you.
because like there's a certain personal connection, because the highest frequency a person can emit is authenticity.
Mm.
And we can all agree that Sin's like the epitome of that, right? You're like, what you see is what you get, and that's why we're all here. And so I appreciate it. Gotta give you your flowers, Sin.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Brian also said in the comments, yes, I'm doing that now. I'm listening to it on audio and I bought the physical book. And Allie Beth, it does help. I think it's because our mind is so busy. We have to sit and quiet it to focus on the book. So when it's in your ear and you're reading along and I'm underlining things, sometimes I actually have to pause it as I underline it because I have to digest it sometimes, you know what I mean? And so when you go back and you have to reread it and reread it, sometimes in my mind, I'm thinking, God, why isn't this sinking in? But to do the two at the same time actually helped me. The new one I'm reading is Jay Shetty's 8 Rules of Love. How to find it. Yes, keep it. And
That's nice. I have a book that I need to actually read, and I have the audiobook. I want to read not the How Successful People Think. I'm going to read this book of like make friends and influence people. How to make friends and influence people. And I have the physical book.
okay,
I got
write
the
that
audio.
down because we're gonna hold you accountable. So write that down so we can do that. Look at Benny, raise his hand. Ready, go.
Okay, so Allie Beth, I'm gonna give you a quick one here. I'll tell you what, I actually like to have both the audiobook and the physical book for 2 reasons. First one is then you can write notes down in there as you're going, because when your brain starts listening to it, you'll actually be able to keep the notes down. The second reason is if you can find the book that a lot of the own authors will actually voice the book. A lot of times they will add extra content, and that can also trigger. So I think of that as my additional, I don't know, my power up special, if you will. Because if I were just reading the book, it's like, this is great content. And there are times, and I have about a 35-minute drive in the morning and a 35 in the afternoon. So I got about an hour of time there where I do what they call windshield university, where I'm actually spending the time listening to about a chapter. Most of them are about 10 to 20 minutes long. And that gives me time as while I'm doing that, I'm digesting that. And most of the time, outside of that, if I pick up another audiobook, it'll be that same book, or I won't pick up another one in the same genre, so that my brain is always cycling on what I'm listening to. So I'm not trying to read or listen to 20 to 30 different self-development books, because you can actually experience a little bit on the overwhelming side of that too much. So it's just, I don't know, it's just a hack that I use, and I think it's really good. And also, if you have access to the content creator themselves, like Cynthia here, you can ping them and go, hey, I have a question for you. Of course, I don't always do that, but sometimes I do. And when I do, you know, it's nice to have. So just a little life hack for you.
Okay, that's great. And it really is. So write these things down to use them. So that's only chapter 4. Do we have time to stay until 9 to do chapter 5? I'll be quick, I promise. Is that okay? Does everybody have time? Yeah. Okay. So this
9
one
means
was,
the next, does 9 mean the next 30 minutes?
yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
30 minutes.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so chapter 5 is really good because this is the chapter that actually stumped me. This is the chapter. So I begin it with the quote, I believe every day you have the choice to be a better you. Because again, everything starts and ends with you. If it's to be, it's up to me. I can give you 15 quotes all about why it's you that's going to make things happen. So it's really hard work. It really is. I mean, we all start, we all stop, we all find things that don't work for us anymore. And then we need to, you know, reflect and say what's working for me and what's not working for me and how can I get better? These are all things that you constantly have to do. Constantly, that's the word. Consistency. So in this chapter, I actually asked 6 people, what came first? Consistency or discipline? Everyone told me discipline. And I said, I respectfully disagree. And that's me. And so when I was writing this chapter, I had a really hard time because I was in my head. I didn't think I had the knowledge. I didn't think, who am I to say that? No, they're all have a different opinion than me, right? Not wrong. They have a different opinion than me. And so I got to thinking, everything that I was doing, everything that I was learning, where did it come from? How did it happen? The discipline is the act of doing something without thinking about it. It's something that's already created, right? It's something you do automatically, whether you want to or not. That takes time. You don't just wake up with discipline. It just doesn't. You can't tell me well, how about this? Has anyone woke up with discipline? Anybody? Honestly. Right? I mean, I don't wake up with it. Like, I have to build it, right? So sometimes you lose it. So the consistency is what builds the discipline. So having your morning routine, doing your affirmations, figuring out what you want, those are all constant things that you have to remind yourself of that put things in place in order for you to build the discipline. So for me, it was a really hard chapter because I honestly, when I was writing it, I didn't want somebody to come back and say, you're wrong. I didn't want somebody to say, who are you to think that you can tell me that I don't have discipline? And so I stopped in this chapter and I actually, because I was stuck on it for so long, I actually got to skip it. The person that was helping me write the book, she was like, just skip it. You're obsessing over it. You're, not getting past, you're not getting the point across, right? I wasn't living the truth. I was stuck on the fact that somebody might tell me I was doing it wrong, or I was wrong. I didn't have enough experience. All of those things were running through my head as I was writing this chapter. But part of the transformation from reactive to proactive is being consistent. Consistency is a game changer. Consistency is the thing that says, I'm going to put intention into doing these things. Remember, the transition from consistency to discipline is the automatic, right? The intention is something that you have to put focus to and actually do. The discipline, like Ben has gotten to the point where he has the discipline to do it. It's a non-negotiable. He does it every day. That is discipline. Whether you want to or not, you get up and you do it anyway. The consistency is the road to discipline. Okay. Discipline for me is, I think of it, and Ben, you can chime in because you have it. To me, it's almost harsh, the word discipline. It's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like a negative to me to have the discipline to do it. But when you change your mindset, so that part of the process that I came through in this chapter was the consistency is the thing that I had the control over, that said, yes, I can, I'm going to be consistent. And then my discipline will just come naturally. That's part of it. Just curious. So what's your thoughts on consistency versus discipline, Ben? Because you have it.
You know, the thing is that for me, I don't like using the word discipline.
Yeah.
I find that even when I speak to others about, well, you just don't have discipline, a lot of people take the negative connotation and they feel like it's something that and I'm going to use this as a throwback to the majority of us is probably background is when we got disciplined as children.
That's right.
Which meant that we were being punished.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it comes back to is I don't have to every morning. I get to every morning because I still believe in the mindset of I'm tuning the instrument, which is me, for the day. And it helps me become a better person instead of being this screaming Viking madman running around the day, just angry at everything and everybody. And it turns me into a big, lovable, huggable teddy bear. So I just figured that's the best way to do it. So I get to do this. I try to avoid using the word discipline because of that. Because a lot of people go, well, why do you get up at 4 o'clock every morning? Well, one, because I get to. Two, because I celebrate the fact that I woke up this morning and, when I whoop, whoop, I don't feel anything on either side of them elbows as I'm elbowing out my wingspan there. But so I don't know. Discipline is a word I try to keep away from that, especially now, granted, when I talk about the discipline to go to the gym, now I know I'm really being punished because, you talk about disciplining yourself. That's rough, but I get to go to the gym. So for me, I just try to stay away from that word.
Good, Cheryl. And if we have to do that, then do that. If it works for you, then do that. And that's what I'm saying. Ben Cheryl wrote in the comments, it's really just telling your mind to do hard things, which is great. I love that. So the mindset shift for me, and this is where I came up with the grit model. So there is a mental toughness that we have to build, work, right? You don't just, get up and say, yeah, I'm tough, I'm going to do this. Everybody has ups and downs. That's just part of life. So for me, and this is what I write about in the book, regardless of whether or not discipline or consistency came first, you must be able to attain both in order to achieve your end goal. That is just the facts, whether you like it or not. So how do we get there? What's the mindset shift? So what I did was I came up with a grit model. Grit can be built. You are not born with grit, you build your grit. How do you do that? Consistency. There is an actual book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. I read the book. I got a lot out of the book. One of the main things that was a test and an indicator in her book of grit was running. She said that you could build your endurance. You didn't get up and were born a runner necessarily, but you could build your endurance. Endurance, she equated to grit. It was kind of the same comparison in gradual growth, right? So grit for me, this is my grit acronym, and it's powerful because you really have to switch your mind. And this is the chapter where I came up with the affirmations group. you, affirmations, positive mindset, which we are all in, right? I was like, how do we get to a place where we can consistently, right, be in that mindset? And so I wanted to have a group and a community to do that. And that's how I came up with this. And at first I said, who am I to start a Facebook group? And the woman who was helping me with the book, Julie, she was like, let's just Google it. So she got into Facebook and there was already like, I don't know, over 100 or something different affirmations groups. She's like, you're not the first one, kid. Just jump in there and get it done. And I was like, okay. So I started the Facebook group. Did you say genetic, Cheryl? My mental toughness is genetic, as Cynthia knows. Oh, they have taught me that you can do it, even when people are telling you it's impossible. That's right. Impossible is just an opinion. And I like that because anything is possible. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I was reading her note on here about her mom. And it's true though. You can build your mental toughness. So GRIT. So the acronym I came up with for GRIT is gratitude, starting your day and focusing on the good things in your life, really accessing what's in your heart. Your routine is key, right? Routine gets you through the day. It is the heart work, starting every day with gratitude. Your routine equals your discipline. So by getting up and doing those things and choosing to take action, your routine is consistency that builds your discipline. The I is for intentionality. Here's a tricky one. When you work on your calendar religiously, a lot of us use our planners. When you're building your GRIT, you have got to be intentional. If you're not putting what you want on your plate, get rid of it because it's just taking up space. It's just making you busy. You don't want to be busy, right? You want to be intentional. You want to put those things on your plate to make you better, to bring you joy, to get you to the next level, to spend time with your family. You have to pick what you want on that plate. And before I wrote the book, or even during, I didn't really incorporate priorities into my plate, but that's really what you put on your plate. You look at your goals and then you choose those as your priorities. And the intentionality is putting the things on your plate that will get you closer to your goals. That's how you want to be intentional. You don't want to be busy throughout the day. You don't want to just, put things on there that fill up your calendar. You want to be intentional. Sometimes there's white space. It took me a little while to actually learn what it meant to be intentional and putting things on my calendar that really meant something. Because if I was just doing something to do something, that's not the point. You want to make it intentional so that you push yourself, right? You're focusing on it. You're pushing yourself by being intentional to be the best version of you. You're incorporating your morning routine. You're building the consistency. You're accessing your heart with your gratitude and centering yourself on those things that you really, really want. And then we go back to the beginning of the book. If you notice, it's all a routine. If you really, really notice, the consistency is the routine. And the more you do the same thing incrementally, right, Osbert, then it becomes the big goal, which is what the intentionality is really focusing on. So it's a cool and vicious cycle, but in a good way. When we learn how to be intentional and really focus on what we want, anything is possible. Anything. So the last one is time. You really have to give it your time. You have to do those things consistently. The time you put in builds your consistency. And so the mental toughness and the GRIT can be built over time. And that is the whole point. You want to do those things for yourself so that you can attain the goals for the things that you want. Are you picking up what I'm putting down, people? That was cute. Everybody's like, so it was really important for me, even in the process of the book, to come up with something that was my own, because everything I have learned from somebody else. I mean, and that's what really the growth process is also, is implementing it into your life. It came from somebody else. And this one, for me, the grit model really helps me gain my mental toughness. My mental toughness is the perseverance that grit creates. It creates the grit. Perseverance, grit, mental toughness, they all kind of are a different variation of the same thing, which is the consistency, the getting up, the doing the hard things, the putting in the work. And it's all in how you look at it. If you don't like the word grit, if you don't like the word perseverance, use mental toughness. It's how you equate it to your life. And that's another thing that resonates throughout the book. Don't do it because I do it. Don't do it because Anthony Trucks does it. Do something that works for you. I've had several mentors. Osbert's had several mentors. I know Ben's had several mentors. David, the ladies on the group, I'm not sure what mentorship looks like to you. But all of these people that we've talked about, Brendan Burchard, Anthony Trucks, there's so many. I have Coach Burt. In the back of the book, I have a resource guide for everybody that at that time has helped me become and given me input to put this book together, because it all came from somebody else, but I had to implement it my way for me so that I would do it every day. And so the grit model for me really came because I found that mental toughness is absolutely essential in my business world. People would tell me things. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody. And being a woman business owner, I really had to build my mental toughness. And that's honestly where the basis came for the grit model, because the gratitude, I had to focus on all of the things that were in my heart that I loved. The routine, I had to be consistent in doing it. Oh, thank you. I really had to dig and look inside myself, because nobody's going to get me out of bed. Nobody is going to do the work for me. I had to do it myself. And how did I do it? With this grit model, gratitude. My routine I made for me to get me out of bed, to set me up for the day so that I was proactive and not reactive. The intentionality, I had to be focused on my goals so I knew what I was putting on my plate, so I wasn't wasting my time. The time I put in to build my consistency and my mental toughness is how I built my grit to get me through each day. This is what I want to give to each of you. This is what I want to help you with. So if there's something in any part of the chapters that we've covered so far, please. That's right. Kids are what it's all about. Hi, love. Look how cute she is. She's like, Dad, what are you doing? So this, again, this is part of all of the things that you can do, because you can do hard things. I promise you can. And it's a buildup. And that's what this book takes you through. What do you want? Affirmations, courage. Then we talked about morning routine. And then this is your consistency. So at the back of this chapter, this is where you actually track it. So 3 things I remained consistent with this week. If it's like Osbert does his checks, right? He does 5 or 10 checks so he can 10x his day. Sometimes it's just being consistent with water intake. Sometimes it's consistency with your morning routine. if there's something, what's the biggest changes you've seen in your life this week because of the consistency? So if you did something every single day, if you hit your morning routine, if you did your morning in, or your daily water intake, how has that changed you? What have you seen? And then the 3 things you remain consistent in this week, right? What were the change? I'm sorry. What were the actual changes that you saw by being consistent, right? Those are what outcomes did you actually see? And, as I'm saying all of this, it is a lot. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed or you don't really know how to implement something, again, do a one-on-one with me. I know it can be a lot, and I didn't realize that doing 2 chapters. I mean, I said 5 weeks. So I was like, okay, you have to stay with your 5 weeks. So if there's anything we went over quickly today and you need to, revisit, or you need a little help with, I fixed the calendar. So Osbert, I'm sorry, I had to miss last week. So I changed my calendar for availability because I do church on Sunday. So I put it in the afternoon. But if you find some availability in there, please take advantage. I'm here for you. I'm willing to give you my time and my, my knowledge for the things that I've learned. And I'm here to share that with you. So don't be afraid to use it. If you need a little extra help, the link is in, and Osbert was looking for it. It's on my website, book a one-on-one call with me, but there is a resource section in the affirmations group. I'll double check it just to make sure it's in there. And actually I'll do a post with this week's book club and I'll put it in there as well. How's that? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I know I ran through the last part really quickly, but I want you to talk about it if you have any questions about the consistency and the grit model. Because once you incorporate those things and the consistency of your routine and giving it the time, you will definitely see a huge, huge change. And Osbert is case in point. Ben is case in point. Cheryl, you do an excellent job. And I don't know your whole morning routine, but you said you're disciplined and that you do it. And that makes me happy. So that's good. Does anybody want to share anything? Julie, you haven't said much today. David, you haven't said much either.
So my morning routine starts with, I have a medication I have to take at 5:30 in order to be able to eat, because I have to take it an hour before I eat. And I have to get ready for work, and I work at 7:30. So it's just, I do like Ben, and I get up in the morning grateful I woke up and go for it. And all doing everything like consistently actually creates more time. There was a period of time where I was saying, oh, I don't have time for that. Oh, I don't have time for that. Case in point, Cynthia, I'm taking those 2 classes at SRJC. Oh my goodness. But yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yes. And barely do I have time for it, but it's like I'm doing it. And you just have to do that.
Good for you, Cheryl. Good for you. I'm really proud of you. Really diving in too and being accountable in the group. And I really appreciate that too. Julie, how are you feeling?
I'm good. Things are going a lot better. We've made a big move.
Good.
I've implemented a lot of things, affirmations daily, the gratitude journal. I kind of do like Ben. I think it was Ben. Anyway, I know it was Osbert. That I do something at night and then I do it in the morning, and try to remain consistent and grateful. So that's made me feel a lot better personally.
That's awesome. It's the little things.
Definitely.
And then the ladder, and then that's good. And I'm really proud of you too. On a whim, she's like, sure, I'll do the book club. She comes into the restaurant, bought the book. Her granddaughter works for me. Funny.
And loves it. loves it. It's the best thing that's happened to her, and she says it almost daily.
Oh, I love that. She's a doll. She's truly one of a kind. She's 16 and I mean, really digs in. She does a great job.
Thank you.
Aw.
It's the best thing
Thank you,
that's
Sharon.
happened to her, and she's had a hard time, hard life. So I love the fact that she can go up the ladder, which I've
Good.
been telling her, you know.
Yes,
So anyway,
that's
thank you.
awesome. Thank you. Mr. Ridenauer. How we doing over there?
Been really great class today.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
I agree.
I still gotta get a lot of things together as far as together and stuff like that. Get out of my head. I'm in there too much.
Goes with you wherever you go.
Yes, for sure. But thank you very much for that, for doing this. It's really good because it gives you more insight into the book and gives you more things to think about. I enjoy that. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate you for being here. Let's see. Loran dropped off. Does anybody else have anything? Do you feedback? Brian, I'm so glad you're here. Can you unmute? Is the baby with you? The baby might be with him. Brian is also in California. Allie Beth, you're frozen. Andrea, did you make it?
No, not yet. I don't have to be there for a while, so I just pulled over.
Oh,
Because I was like, I can't do this and drive.
oh,
And I don't have to be there for like quite a while. So I was like, well, okay. I
Okay,
just
well-
wanted to get out there before like it's supposed to start raining. And so I was like, I don't want to be driving out to the coast in the rain, like in a big storm, you know?
yeah.
Who knows
Yeah.
how it's gonna be later, but I'm not going to party at the beach, y'all. I'm working. I'm doing massages for a group of sisters who have been going out to Bodega Bay this is their 40th year anniversary.
It's
And
crazy.
they all bring something special to share with their sisters every year. And one of them is bringing me to do massages for everyone. So that's my day. In the midst of yesterday, I was in charge of heading up our Big
yeah.
Bear Little Bear dance. And we are moving tomorrow. So, you know, if I've learned anything, it's that I can do hard things. And I like to do everything all at once, apparently. So that's what we're doing.
Sometimes it comes in
I hope
waves.
to be, yeah. Next
Sometimes it
Saturday
comes in
morning, I
waves.
hope to be sitting in my new home with a cup of coffee and doing this, being able to pay attention fully.
Aw, you did great. And thanks for pulling over. I appreciate, the
Thank
time
you.
and the attention to it. It really does mean a lot that you all show up every week, and it really will change your life. If you adapt to the things and build them into your everyday, you will change and you will see the changes. We will all be here to encourage you the whole way. So if there is something that you need help with, if you resonate with somebody here, reach out to them. That is what the community is for. Osbert, Ben, myself, and Allie Beth, David, we've all been in the same original group. We all have amazing tools. So just as another resource for you if you're looking for something. I do just want to say one thing. All of us are pretty close, except for Allie Beth and David, but Andrea is bringing her massage chair to the 20th anniversary party. So just saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna double book for that one. I'm gonna make sure I double book.
It's going to be, I just went to go see the band last night. I secured the band for the event, so it's going to be huge. I know it is a big ask, but Osbert, Brian, and maybe Ben, if you want to come, I would love to see you all. And I know that Ben, you have the farthest to drive, but you've done it before. So it's up to you. I just want to know, I'm extending the invite. You are all welcome, and I would love to have you there. Families and all, everybody. Just so you know. Just so you know.
And Sin, that was the Sunday of the 12th, right? For next
That is
month.
correct.
Perfect.
It's 1 until 4.
Okay.
And
Just
the
so you know.
food is fantastic.
When is this activity?
It's our 20th anniversary of Home Run Pizza. And so I'm throwing a big party.
Oh my God, I wish I could go. When is this?
It's you can't go, you're in Connecticut. It is Sunday, March the 12th.
March the 12th. Yeah, I don't think I wish I could go.
It's okay. But anyway,
Do you guys have
I'm
vegan
proud.
options for your pizza?
We're gonna do pizza. We're gonna do knuckleballs. We're gonna do
No, I was saying,
a
do you guys
champagne toast,
options?
and we have a little surprise dessert. If you haven't tried them at Home Run Pizza, should I tell you all? Fried
but do you
Oreos.
guys
They're
vegan?
so good.
Do you guys have vegan options?
A couple, but none of the things that I'm serving. None of
Okay.
those are vegan.
Oh, but you do have, that's nice. So when I go there, I might have some options for me.
Yes, we do have a couple. Yes.
Great.
Okay, you all are wonderful. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I said half an hour. It's 9 o'clock. But guess what we have to do? Let's do a picture. Book club week. I just can't believe it, you guys. Book club week 4. So we only have 1 week left. I love you all. You all are fantastic. I thank you for being here. You all are putting in amazing work. Smiling faces. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you again. And again, I'm here for you. Use the one-on-one if you need it. Osbert. Oh, you put it in there. Thank you so much. I thought you put the link for Anthony Trucks. So it's Anthony Trucks, Trucks. If you need him. Andrea, what did you need?
Oh, I was just gonna say, don't leave yet because I'm trying to copy this from the chat.
Oh, I think, has anybody
Oh,
watched?
don't close it.
Has anybody watched it in the Facebook group? Because I think you can see the chat. I haven't watched the whole thing. Can you see the chat? Are you nodding your head? Yes, Julie? Yes. Okay, you can see the chat. So just FYI, the
Oh,
resource is there. So you'll be
awesome.
able to see it.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
And again, Growth Day with Brendan Burchard was the other one. And I can send you the link if you want to. I'm just not on my phone and I don't want to hold you up. Brendan Burchard has a whole website that has amazing resources in it for people in business, for people, he literally covers everything that you can possibly think of. One of them was being more productive. How can you be more productive? He does an hour class on being more productive. He does an hour class on communicate. I mean, there's so many things. It's an endless resource for you, Burchard.
So it's like Motivation Manifesto on steroids.
Yes. Is that
Or-
Brendan Burchard?
It is.
It
It's like
is.
one of his very first ones.
Yes.
And it's like the basics and it's got everything. I love that book. It's amazing. And I've read it like 4 times.
And he's
Because it's so
fantastic.
easy. And he's great. So that's why I say like your book and his book are the most worn through at this point right now.
Yeah. So it's
And
great.
I've been reading that I think that was like one of my first books I ever got like 10 years ago. So, or however long ago it was. But it's good.
That's awesome. And if you need a mindset book, The Power of Positive Thinking is also a really good one. If you just want some, motivational mindset thinking ones. Okay, people, love you all. I love you all too. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad you made it, Ellie Beth. Thanks, you guys. Have a great Saturday. I'll see you soon.